Hello and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today, in another spooky season video, I'm going to be looking at more pieces of decor that you can use inside of your miniature scenes. I'm focusing on my dining room because that's the room I've been working on this year, with the aim of being able to decorate it seasonally. And as a result, I'm going to be using my pieces to put together some sort of table vignettes, a little arrangement on the various tables that I've got in that room, but I'm not limiting it to tables. You can put these pieces on shelves, on bookcases, on dressers. Anywhere that you've got a little bit of space that you want to put something decorative, you could put these items. Obviously, I'm going with the furniture I've got, which means I've got two of these that, if you've been following the dining room videos, you know live either side of the fireplace. Now, this is the bare wood desk side table that is available very inexpensively. This is the UK version, but they do a similar version at Dollar Tree in the States. But obviously, I just go with what I can get. Very popular piece for turning into other things, and I just gave it a bit of a bat makeover that is featured in one of my dining room videos. So I've got two of these that give me a nice area of tabletop to arrange some pieces, which is good. It's one of the reasons why I've included them, because I want lots of spaces for decor. And I've also got room for another table. Now, historically, this little table, which is sold as a wine table, I presume you're just supposed to put your bottle of wine and maybe a couple of glasses on it. I don't know. Lived in the corner that is behind the door, if indeed you open the door into the dining room. It's an inch and a half across the top, and it fits there nicely. I've used it a lot because it fitted perfectly. Now, I do also have another round table, which is this one, which was sold as, I think, a lamp table, this one, which is 2 inches across. That also fits beyond the door, fits in the space. I can close the doll's house, I can open the door, it isn't a problem. So I could use either of these. I just pulled them both out because they were together when I went in my stash of furniture. Now, I also have the table that I used earlier in the year as my prototype for my idea. Now, my idea is to do fake tabletops, basically, that can be removed with all the decor in place and then just easily swapped out according to your mood, the season, the holidays, whatever. And as I say, it featured in a video back at Easter where I did my original decorations on there, and it's also been used a couple of times since. And there's shorts that show those off because excuse me, I don't want to be doing lots of videos of the same thing. But what I'm going to be focusing on in this video is going to be the sort of things that you can use. And then, depending on how time goes, we will start putting some of this together. We might go over into a second part. I'm not sure yet. As I say, it all depends how it goes. So, this is what I'm planning. Decorative bits that can go on my various tables. I may put some on the dresser. I'm not sure. I really need to figure out how I'm going to dress the dresser, full stop, because I need to do something to disguise the mirror at the back, because at the moment it's very glaring when I try and film in there, because there's nothing in front of the mirror. So let's get on with it. The first thing I am going to work on are possibly my favourite current spooky season find, and that is the putka pods. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure it's putka, something like that. And these, and I've got a bag full, are little seed pods that look like miniature pumpkins. Now, there's probably going to be those of you out there that are like, yeah, I've known about those for a long time. But I discovered them last year and then actually managed to get hold of some this year. Now, because they're a natural product, you do get some, like this one here, that are cracking open. But it's not the end of the world. I could possibly cut that open and actually use it where I wanted a part one. There's always the possibility, but as you can see from my little piece of working paper there, they come in a variety of sizes and shapes, and this makes them seem more like pumpkins. Now, I think I actually bought some of these going back now 5 years ago, that have been painted by somebody and were sold as little pumpkins. They certainly look like they could be these. Although they're still in the original packet because, well, I haven't got around to using them. Shock horror, I know. They seem to be quite resilient. And if they're only going to last a few years, it's not the end of the world. Not to me anyway. Sorry, that is how I feel about it. I'm sure that before my doll's house leaves my possession, it will change again. So I'm going to paint these. Now, I just paint these with ordinary acrylic craft paint. I've pulled out a terracotta colour, a couple of oranges, and then a sort of golden yellow. So between those, I should be able to make up some appropriate, natural looking pumpkin colours. Now, obviously, if you want to decorate your miniature scene with a different aesthetic, you know, you want white pumpkins or black pumpkins or whatever it is, hey, you might even want pink pumpkins. I'm not judging. You can paint them. Not a problem. All you need is a reasonably small brush. I'll probably actually get one that's a bit finer than this. I just pulled this one out of my pot. And you can paint away. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's why I'm filming this bit on my dirty piece of paper, because that's what I'm going to paint over. Because it's going to get messy. So, yeah. I'm going to paint some pumpkins, because I don't use pumpkins in my spooky doll's house all year round, because it isn't appropriate. If it was a ceramic pumpkin, maybe. But what's supposed to look like real pumpkins, I save for the autumn, for Halloween. And I think that if you were careful and if you've got a fine paint marker, you could actually paint a jack-o'-lantern face on some of the bigger ones of these. I may have a go at that yet, I'm not sure. So, it's painting time. The pumpkins are all painted. I went for most of them in this colour, which is actually the terracotta kind of a colour that I'd got. I did paint a couple each in some different oranges, just so that if I clump them together, there'll be a variation. But that sort of says pumpkins to me. I will be doing some jack-o'-lantern type faces on a couple of them, but I've not got that far yet. Now, I also did some in black, and I did one in black and white. Now, this one does actually need some touching up, mostly with the black, but I will get that done before I get on to the next stage. Now, I've done that because I've actually got a particular sort of add-on project in mind to do with that. And I've seen a lot of these that are done in black and white and thought that could work. So that's why that's the way it is. And it's also going to have something on the top, which is why I haven't worried too much about the centre of it. So pumpkins, you can group these together outside of your doll's house, inside of your doll's house, anywhere you like. Obviously, group the different sizes together. You can make a nice little scene. If you want to do that and you want to make something that you can use time after time, I recommend sticking them to something. So then all you've got to do is just put a base piece into place. It's all about simplicity. And if you were to put together a few little pumpkins and then stick them down onto something that was a little bit smaller or a little bit larger, and maybe put some fake leaves around it, whatever you like, it's then ready to go, and you can decorate even quicker next year, because we all like simplicity. We all like being able to do things with the least effort. No? Is it just me? I don't think it is. I think that there's a lot of people that are put off the idea of decorating their doll's house for the seasons because, well, it takes time moving all that stuff. And that's what I'm trying to make a bit easier, is come up with some ideas that mean you can get all the fun of decorating without the time-consuming faffing. Following on from the pumpkins, my first piece I'm actually going to make is using this stripy pumpkin, and I'm going to turn that into a floral display. Now, I did a video last year, I think it was, possibly towards Christmas. I will try and find the link for you, where I showed you how I made some skull floral displays. Well, I'm using the same idea, but with a pumpkin. Now, I've seen this done on Halloween decor DIY videos, and I thought I'd give it a go. So what I've done is, obviously, I've got my pumpkin and I've made some flowers. Now, I make these using, in this case, I've used cardstock, but you can just use printer paper, coloured with alcohol ink, and then punched out with a small flower punch. I've got a number of them left over from previous years, and paper crafting even. And what I do is I shape them a little bit. Well, in this case, I've shaped the top layer, and I've stuck 2 layers together, and then I've stuck them to some bits of wire which give me my stalk, and I've given them a centre. In this case, I've used some stickles in black diamond. I don't know if this is a colour that's still available, but I've had my stickles for a long time again. And then I've let these dry. I've let these dry because I want the centres to dry, and I want the good blob of glue that I put on the back to dry. Now, I'm not going to use the stalks that size. That's obviously far too long for my little pumpkin, but it just makes it easier for me while I'm putting them together, doing the centres, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down, and I'm going to stick them into the centre of this pumpkin. Now, you could also add some leaves, but I can't actually find my leaf punch. And I've only really got one leaf punch, which does a little spray of leaves. And whilst I've got some punched out already, they're all in colours that aren't quite dark enough to go with the aesthetic of this. So I am probably going to use either some more of the wire or even the bits of wire that I cut off to make some tendrils. just to fill it out a bit. Now the wire I've used is some black beading wire. This is 28 gauge because it's what I happen to have. I do quite often use green when it comes to my florals, but I don't want this to necessarily look like a real floral, so I don't mind that it's black. Plus I'm hoping that it'll then, if there's any bits that are showing, they'll sort of merge into the background. So I'm going to start cutting these and sticking them in place, and then I'll show you how I do it. Now I've put my 5 little flowers into place. What I actually found helped was I put a little hole in the top of the pumpkin, in the top of the little pod, so I was just able to put some of the bits of wire into there because there isn't a very deep indentation in the top, but I think that looks quite good. So I've used the 5 flowers. It's part of the thing whereby you should use items in odd numbers, so 3, 5, 7, etc. And then I've used 3 little tendrils of the wire, which I've just wrapped around. Actually, I used my little metal hole making tool because it was handy, and then I stuck them at different angles. And I have actually done this so that it could be viewed from all sides. It gives me a choice when I come to do something with it. So first thing, there we have it, an Halloween floral decoration. Well, I say first thing I've done with one of the pumpkins, rather than just display them en masse. The next thing I'm going to talk about isn't a decoration in itself. Now, I did a video absolutely ages ago about candle holders, and I showed my easy way of making candles. And these are a couple of the candle holders that I've made in the past, and I don't know if you can actually see on there that I've got some dripping wax down them. Now these two are both done with skull beads. Skull beads are great. I've done a few things with them over the years, and if I find some that are in a reasonable size, I buy them. You can find some that look a bit like that come in different colours. This has been painted, this one hasn't. It actually looks a bit more realistic in shape and everything than the first one, and for whatever reason I've just decided to leave him as his. But that's kind of besides the point for what I'm talking about at the moment. I'm talking about the candles. Obviously candles at Halloween can fill out a decorative scene. They can fill out a decorative scene in a spooky scenario at any time of year, but with the nights drawing in the northern hemisphere at any rate, candles start to come into their own around about this time. These are made with the stem, stick, whatever you want to call it, of a cotton bud, a cotton swab. Now I like using these. I like using them for cleaning up things, and then I cut off the ends and keep the stick, and I turn it into a candle. Now I think I've covered that in a past video. I'm sure I covered it in the video where I did all the candle holders. I did lots of different variations. These are just all that I could find. But basically what I do is I use my glue to fill the end in, because this is the plastic one, but they're not available anymore. You can use the paper variety, you can use the bamboo variety, but I think with the bamboo ones you definitely want to put glue on the whole of the outside to give you a smoother finish. And with the paper ones you need to make sure that you put glue top and bottom, just to make sure that it doesn't start unravelling, because some of them can. But I'd cut them to size, and then I'd fill the top with some of my glue. And I'm referring to my Cosmic Shimmer Specialist acrylic glue, which is what I use most of the time. It just looks like white glue, but this glue goes from being runny to being quite thick and tacky. So if you leave it on a little piece of cardboard or something for a while, it goes quite thick and tacky, and you can do tricks like this. And then I let it dry, obviously, and paint it. Now I like using, I think that was done using my vanilla bean paint, which is a bit yellower, but I've done them in various shades of cream and off-white, because a lot of candles aren't pure white, plus you need to put something on to cover up the glue because the glue will be clear. The other thing you can use, and this is what I'm going to use in a moment, is a glue stick. Now, this is just a glue stick for a hot glue gun, and you can turn those into candles quite easily. I've done this before on my channel, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to attempt to make a bit of a decorative piece. Now, you could, as you will see, combine pumpkins and candles, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to do it with a thicker candle rather than one of the thin ones, because I think that it's going to look a bit better. So I'm going to clear myself off, and I will come back and show you how I turn this into a candle. To make my candle holder pumpkin, I'm going to use this fairly flat putka pod that I have painted black. And because I painted it black, it's picking up white bits from somewhere. I will go around and touch these up if necessary before it goes in the doll's house, but I think that in a bit of a vignette, that's quite a good word to use, isn't it? You know, a little display. It's not going to be too over the, too out there. It's not going to be too obvious. I can position it to suit. Now, I cut a piece off my glue stick. It's about 10mm in length. I've just done it by eye, and I've just used a craft knife. It's left some marks, and I thought it was a new blade, so obviously it's a dirty new blade. And that is going to fit quite nicely onto the top of the pumpkin. Now the pumpkin has got a little stem. Now I could put it upside down if I wanted to, but it won't sit properly. So what I'll do instead is I will get my pokey tool, my little hole making tool, and I will make a bit of a hole in the bottom of this. I'm literally just going to sort of stab at it a bit, and then hopefully I can fit that over the top. I will go back and make it a bit more better fitting before I stick it all together. But I've got my section of glue stick glue, glue gun glue, hot melt glue stick, yeah. Now I've actually got this out because I want to, at this stage, before I start doing anything with it, I want to make a little hole in the top, like so, quite a way down. And I'm going to insert this piece of wire. Now this is the same 28 gauge wire that I was using for the stems for the flowers. And this is what I use for a wick. Now I will trim it off once it's done, but at the moment it gives me something good to hold it by. And I'm going to now use some of my glue to start building this up and making it look like the candle has been lit. Now you can do this using the nozzle of your glue gun if you've got a fine enough end on it. The glue gun I can find is not particularly brilliant. So all I'm doing at the moment is I'm just putting a bit of wax, well, I'm replicating a bit of wax around the outside using some of my glue, which hopefully you can see is quite thick already. I haven't had this out of the bottle all that long. Obviously it likes the weather conditions today. And then I'm just going to add some more bits running down the sides. Now hopefully you can see that, because at the moment it's white on clear. And I'm going to carry on around my candle and add this, and then once it's dry we will put some paint on it. We will do a better job of hollowing out the bottom, and we can put it onto the pumpkin. It's, as I say, it's just another simple little decoration. You could do it with an ordinary coloured pumpkin if you wanted to do something that's more autumnal, more fall themed. Just as with the flower decoration, you can alter it to suit. If you want, you know, more fall colours, do it in fall colours. Doesn't bother me. I go for the spooky aesthetic, but you do you. I have painted my candle. I have put some more paint on my pumpkin. And what I did realise is this pumpkin's rather uneven, and that became really obvious when I tried gluing the candle into place. So what I've done is I've took a couple of punched circles of cereal box material, and I've made a bit of a stand that just sort of levels it up. I am going to paint those black once all the glue's dried, so it won't be quite so obvious when it's on a table or a shelf. And the glue, which you can still see at the moment because it's white, will get touched up with some linen coloured paint, which is what I've used on the candle. I'm filming it now so you can actually see how I've splodged the glue around. I put a good amount of glue underneath it and let it splodge out, and then I've filled in gaps with some more on a cocktail stick, just because I got to thinking how you would fit a candle onto a pumpkin, and obviously the one way is to make a hole, etc. But I think the far more likely is to get either this candle or another one and put a good wodge of wax on it and stick it into it. I've attached candles to things like that in the past. Not necessarily a pumpkin, but it is a way of doing it. And I think once this is painted up, I'm going to consider this piece done. So I'll actually show you the final fully painted version at the end of the video. But I quite like it. It's a nice little twist on the pumpkin theme, and I think I'm going to be quite happy fitting this into one of my scenes. Because I wanted to prove that you can turn these little putka pods into something that resembles a jack-o'-lantern, I have done just that. I've took one which is a reasonable size and I've got a nice shape to it, and I took a paint marker. These are great. I couldn't find my smaller one, which would have been easier. I have got a smaller one than this, slightly finer, but I think I've made a passing attempt at a face. Obviously you can go as complicated or as simple as you want, and I don't worry about the fact that it's not symmetrical. Anybody who has ever carved a pumpkin will tell you that unless you use some kind of a stencil, or you are really good, you're going to have little imperfections. So I think this dude will do quite nicely. So really simple, really easy jack-o'-lantern. When I started this video, I wasn't expecting the pumpkins to run away with me. But you know how it is. You start doing something and then you think, oh, well, that's kind of connected, so I'll do that next. And before you know it, you've got a load of things that sort of are themed. They go together because they need similar materials or are just similar ideas. Well, that's what's happened with me today, and that's why I've got a table of pumpkins. Obviously, we've got my ordinary pumpkins, which I love. These are going to be great. I'm certain these are going to be featuring outside of my doll's house very, very shortly. I also like that I can paint them in any colour that I want. I am pretty happy with my faux jack-o'-lantern. I have actually seen, since I started making this video, somebody who has used the putka pods and has carved them out. Will I ever go at that? Maybe. But for the moment, I'm happy enough with that. We have my finished candle in a pumpkin, and I'm quite pleased with it. I think it works. That's going to look all right in the situation where I want it to be. You can't really see that I've made a little base for it to straighten it up, level it up, and I think that's going to work quite well. And then of course you've got the floral display. I like the idea of floral displays. They are something that people do a lot in real life decor, using various pieces as either a base or an accessory. So why not in miniature? Even if my flowers aren't too realistic. I've got to admit, when I've done florals real scale, I've used fake flowers, and a lot of them don't look particularly real anyway. But I think I'm going to finish this video now. I've got a sort of section that I hope is finished. I hope I'm done with the pumpkins. I can't think of anything else that I intended to do with pumpkins this year. But that doesn't mean to say that there isn't something buried away in the deepest, darkest depths of my brain. And if it is, it might turn up yet. Otherwise, well, it may have to wait for another year. If you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have, please like, comment and subscribe. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so that YouTube will let you know when I put up my next video, because I'm not altogether sure when that's going to be. But until next time, bye.